Welcome to my blog, where you are invited to jump in the passenger seat and take a ride with me as I spin the block on these social media streets. Let's go.
Hey everyone, just a little bit late, about 3 minutes late, starting this live, but yeah, I kind of flaked out the last couple of days. To be quite honest, I keep having this internal struggle with this content. I think I'm making it a lot more difficult than it has to be. So I kind of just let it, just sit and marinate and just kind of move where my spirit takes me when it comes to doing this YouTube thing. And one of the things I discovered in this journey so far is that I got to do me. I got to do what I like. And honestly, I am really enjoying watching all of this Nesto, Shirley Strawberry stuff. And we all know the bombshell that was dropped yesterday with Shirley filing that divorce. And honestly, I was up kind of sort of trying to prepare for the live I was going to do the next morning if I was able to get up because I struggle with that, full disclosure. Then I got an alert, and the alert was that Shirley filed for divorce. So that kind of took on a whole life of its own, and we all know how that played out yesterday. And a shout out to Shirley for finally, just kind of making a decision, at least in our eyes, making a decision, because we all were kind of sitting around trying to figure out what was going through her head. Hey, Vicky. Hey, Lady T Bug. And Lady T Bug, I am on the lookout for what we were just talking about because now you got me curious, and I'm that type. I can't let it go. I can't let it go. Now you got me thinking, where is that video? Because I remember seeing it too. So yeah, I will be on the lookout for that. But right now, um, I'm just trying to find my footing. And one of the things I discovered, well, I always knew about me, is that there is a nerdy part of me that likes to kind of get down in the minutia. I like talking about this stuff on the very top level. In the last live, we were kind of talking about that, and I was like, "Yeah, I do like celebrity topics, but I like them on a very surface level. If they don't interest me, that I'll just read the headline or I'll listen to someone talk about it. But as far as really engaging in that content, this whole Nesto Shirley thing is probably the first thing that I would call celebrity gossip that I really kind of got into because this is a story being told in real time. So I'm really interested in it. But I'm also recognizing that I like to go a little deeper. So, like I said, call me a nerd. And Nyla has this thing about being nosy. Well, I'm nosy. So I guess you can consider me a nosy nerd because I like to look at the motivations behind what is going on and taking a deeper dive. And not that the people who are covering it right now, the content creators that are covering it right now, are not doing that. And I know Lady T Bug, you do that. We kind of go behind the scenes and we kind of just talk it out. Hey, Latoy, what I call you, the hardest working moderate on these YouTube streets. And by the way, I didn't really know for sure if you wanted to mod for me. I know I said what I said she would do it. And I'm at the point right now that I'm in a safe space. You guys who come in and join me here on YouTube, I don't have to really moderate or worry about you guys, but just let me know. And if you don't want to, that's fine. You don't have to. You can find me on, you don't even have to put it in the conversation right now. You can reach out to me, excuse me, on Instagram if you want, and I'll put my Instagram handle in the chat so you can hit me up over there. Oh, well, that was quick, but I'm still gonna put my Instagram chat on there. So if anybody wants to find me and follow me over there, I don't post a lot, if not at all. And Lady T Bug would tell you that she already knows that. But I'm trying to get more. I don't know. I guess check my Instagram more often. I really don't do Instagram unless I'm looking at my nieces and nephews' pictures. That's just how I move. And actually, me and Lady T Bug just had a short chat before I hit the live. But back to what I was saying is that I was reviewing the old videos, kind of, doing a throwback. And I maybe still do that, but I think I'm not going to do it so much. Maybe I do it like on Thursday, like a throwback Thursday, because I've heard them. I've heard these calls. We've talked about them ad nauseum. And I want to move a little further. So as I was saying, that whole nosy part of me, well, I am nosy and I'm a Googler. I am that person that likes to research. And like I was just saying to Lady T Bug, we were talking about something behind the scenes, and now I it's on my mind. So I'm to the point now where I know that if I get some space, if unless she finds it first, and I'll join her when she goes live, that I'll try to get that information to her because it just sticks with me. And I've been a nerd all my life. From the point I've owned that title, I wear it proudly. Since I was in junior high, I went to a college preparatory high school where, especially at that time back in the 80s, if you were black and you were um, going to this particular high school, you was considered a nerd. But I love my nerdness. Okay, so that's why I titled this video today. I kind of came up with it on the fly. Um, like I said, I'm trying to just let my spirit lead me on this YouTube journey. So that's why I call it Atlanta, the city of Nesto, and our side chicks groomed. Because when you look at all the players in this saga, they're character archetypes that you commonly see in stories. When people write stories, they are what are called character archetypes. And I got my handy dandy notepad because I'll forget stuff. A thousand things are rolling through my head at once. So one of the things I wanted to kind of mention before I get started was the whole thing about character archetypes. And so to me, if you look at the cast of characters in this show that we're watching, this reality TV that we're watching, there are archetypes here. There are characters. So I have Nesto as the outlaw. That's obvious. Shirley as the damsel in distress. Sonia as the seducer or the Jezebel. And then we have Dre, Dion, and Lamont. I call them the sidekicks. Sheridan, she made the list, and Sheridan is the orphan. So, looking at these people from that point of view and that perspective, is something I think that is for food for thought. And also, the reality is, we know people like all of these people. We may not know Sonya personally. We may not know Nesto or Shirley personally. We may not know them personally, but we know of people like them. And maybe we've had some experiences similar to theirs. So they're very relatable. Very relatable. Let me see. Vicky, I see your comment here. Let's see. I've been listening to the old calls where Nesto was talking smack all day. You know what? Those old calls, now that is true. Some of the old calls are hilarious. And like last night, the call that phone calls from prison dropped. Was it yesterday they dropped that call with him and Sonya just rambling and their superficial conversation? They really are talking about nothing, but they are they're funny, they're hilarious because this is a moment that they didn't know anybody was watching. I mean, they knew that it was being watched by the jails, but they didn't have any way of knowing that we would be now looking in on their conversation. And it's so shallow. It's actually shameful to me. It's very juvenile in my opinion. Hey, I said what I said. I didn't get up this morning, so this is where we're starting. I'm stepping on Lady T Bug's toes here, but apparently Tasha K is going live, but I'm not going to try to hold you too long. I think this is something that we could do in a relatively short period of time. I can kind of cover it and we could talk about it and then we can even, follow up. My intentions were, to be quite honest, to hit the live button around 2 or 3, to be quite honest. And that's where I'm going to try that. I think that's my sweet spot moving forward. The gracious Lady T Bug, I'm looking forward to her live as usual. So just hang in here with me. You guys know I'm just trying to figure this stuff out. So let me go ahead and set up my screen so we can get into it. I didn't set up my screen because the first video now, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself because I'm trying to work this StreamYard. But I'm going to show you 2 videos in particular. And the first video is by this young woman. The name of her channel is the O Experience. Okay. And the reason why I stumbled across her video because I was doing what I normally do. I'm surfing or cruising the YouTube streets, or as one of a YouTuber that I watched, this guy that I watched, I started watching him because I was traveling to Thailand last year, and I was just kind of watching a lot of expats content. And he uses this term called pitting and pat, and that just means he's just hanging out, just see what what comes his way and just kind of chit chat and talk about it, or just kind of looking out for different things. And that's basically what I do on YouTube because of recommendations or I'm bored. You know, if you consume a lot of YouTube, like I do, okay, of course, start playing this. I apologize for that. That is something I hate, the autoplay, and this and the way I'm set up. I can't avoid it. It's not even about turning autoplay off. It's just that my tabs, when they go dormant, as soon as I click them again, they just automatically start playing. So I'm sorry about the bleed. So let me just get away from that because I'm rambling. I am rambling. And I'm not looking at the chat, you guys. So bear with me. But the name of her channel is The O Experience, and I'm trying to set this up so I can share the screen with you and not have it autoplay right away like it wants to do. So just give me a second here. All this darn clicking. Okay, I think I'm where I want to be. So now you can see the start of this video. She actually has quite a few videos up. She doesn't post content anymore, not on YouTube. She also had a presence on Instagram, but that account has been dormant for I think a little over a year, and people are asking her to come back. And I'll go ahead and push play. I think her name is Kina, and she talks about her experience as being a side chick. She also uh, on her YouTube channel is giving people advice or ladies advice on being a side chick, the rules to the game. And honestly, she gets a lot of views, or she was getting a lot of views. So a lot of people, I guess you could say, they kind of related to the content. So let me go ahead and get this started. Oh, before I start, let me look through you guys' comments because, like I said, I wasn't looking. I wasn't looking. Hey, Rainbow, thank you for joining me, or joining us rather. Let's see here. Yeah, this is perfect for dinner time. Yeah, it is. And that's what I had to do. I had to run out and go get me something to eat because I learned my lesson from you, Lady T. Make sure you have everything you need. Either dinner needs to be cooked already or it can be thrown in the microwave real quick, or you need to go out and get your dinner. Because I don't want to be, hungry on here because I get hangry. Okay. So let me go ahead and start this video. And this video titled it says story time. Why I dated a married man, side chick, story time, married man. That's part one. I actually don't want part one. Let's go with lessons. Let's go with this one. Okay. Yeah, this is the one I actually wanted. It was lessons learned from dating a married man. But she has this is a total of 3 parts. So I'm not covering the first part one and two. You guys can go check that out if you want to, or we can cover it here at a later time. But I thought this is real important because we talk about Sonya all the time and what her motivations are. And we all have she's told us what her motivations are, and she's been very, of course, she hasn't been truthful about that. We know she's been telling stories, she's been telling tales, but we all have our theories and we've shared them quite a bit. So I thought it'd be interesting to go actually talk or listen to someone who is a side chick, who owned up to being a side chick, and what she thinks. And let me know if the volume is a problem for you.
At this, I learned that I have developed a skill around being a side chick. Hello, my name is Kina. I am the O Experience. Welcome back to my channel, which is geared towards everything relationships, dating, and loving yourself always. The title of this video, another story time. What did I learn from being with a married man? Before we get into the information, I do want you to like this video. Please smash your subscribe buttons. And then, of course, I do want you to comment down below. You guys ready? All right, let's go. So, what did I learn from being with a married man? I was with a married man. If you haven't checked out my Why I Dated a Married Man video, I'm going to link it above. That's another story time. Yeah. I
I'm
told
not sure
everybody
how old this young
getting
lady
my
is.
story
I believe she said
of being
she
with a
was
married man.
like out in the streets in
And
the
it started when I was
90s.
19. And
So she could be in her late 30s,
I
early
was
40s.
young,
You know
but
how
I
we
stayed with this
age.
man for at least the next 8 years, 7 years of my 20s. So I learned a lot. I learned that people just want to win sometimes. I feel like, and what I mean by that is, I mean that he wasn't interested in his wife until he found out she was cheating with another man while he was cheating with me. And she wasn't interested in her husband until she found out that I existed. Did that make them more appealing? They were still the same effed up people they had always been to each other their whole lives. But because I entered the picture and he loved me, or because she developed feelings in a relationship for another man, now all of a sudden he was interested in her. So I definitely learned that people want to win. That's first. Second, I learned to lie. I learned to cheat. I learned to hold people's secrets. I learned that I wasn't probably ever going to be first. I learned that I liked my alone time because I had a lot of it. I liked people not spending the night with me, sleeping in the bed with me. I like to sometimes, majority of the time, sleep alone. So yeah, I don't want you spending the night with me. I learned that I am skilled at this. I learned that I have developed a skill around being a side chick, a mistress. And while I'm not proud of it, I'm not getting on here saying like, yeah, like I be looking for married men or this and this and this. But 9 times out of 10, most men, especially my age or older, are married or in long-term relationships. I'm good at it. I'm skilled at it. I know how to do it. It's easy for me. I'm teaching them how to do it. Oh, we can't go there because that restaurant is a hot spot. You can't take me there. You have to be home at a certain time. Like, you better answer the phone. You know your wife is calling. No, I'm having a Galentine's Day. Thanksgiving, I'm spending definitely with
I
my
agree with you.
family.
I said
So
what I
you can
said.
spend with your
She
family.
is way
I'm
too
not
fly
going to
to
call you
be
after 10
with the
o'clock
married man.
p.m. That's like family hours. I know what it is when you don't call me back. Matter of fact, I'm not even gonna call you. I'm gonna allow you to call me. I'm not gonna text you. I'm gonna allow you to text me when you ready. It makes me feel free in a sense because I already know like what you want. I already know the signs. I already know what to look for. Even if you tell me you're not married, yes you are. Because I already know what I'm looking for. I already know what you do. I already know what married men do. So yeah, it's easy. It's not a challenge. I'm going to get the best parts of them. I'm going to get the best parts of them. I'm gonna get the money. I'm going to
Let me pause right here because I did watch part one and two, and I don't want to be a spoiler. But in part one, I think I remember it was in part one. Now she's kind of contradicting herself, and even for me on the outside, listening to her, do you really get the best parts of him? I guess there is the theory, or there is the saying that she doesn't have to, the side chick doesn't have to deal with all the problems that the wife deals with. And we could see that being played out with Sonya, how she's just, they're just, pecking away at Nesto and, playing his savior, she's not really doing the hard part unless you consider talking to him and honestly sleeping with him the hard part. I probably would, but they, I guess their perspective is that I don't have to deal with the ins and out because I'm not the wife. But she says in the first video, again, I believe it was the first video, how if the wife was acting up or if he was upset with his wife, he would then take it out on her. She had to answer for all the wrongs that the wife did. So I think she's contradicting a little bit because honestly, she's trying to minimize her role or her accountability in being a side chick, being the other woman, messing around with a married man. I don't know where she's getting her logic from, but there are still single men out there. You have to do the work. You're absolutely right. That's absolutely right. But that's why I titled it, or was she, our side chick's groom, because she talks about early on. I didn't start with the first video because I really found this one to be, I don't know, I wouldn't say more interesting, but it was kind of, a brief overview of where her mind was at, her mindset. But she talks about it that she met this guy when she was 19, fresh out of high school. She didn't know nothing about anything. So he kind of, I think she even uses the word groomed her to be this way. So that's why, you know, I think this is her point of view and her perspective and why she can't see what you just said. I said what I said, that you still have to put in work. Doesn't matter if it's the man is married or not married. It's a relationship, and all relationships require work.
get the nice version of him because he don't want to push me away because he already got a humongous strike against him, which is him being married. I'm literally going to get a condensed, very perfect version of him from the hours of 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Yeah. I'm going to get lavish gifts. When he can't go out of town because he's married, so he can't get away, he going to send me money to go with my friends. Yeah. I'm going to get all the best parts of him. I ain't got to worry about bills with him. I ain't got to worry about disciplining no kids with him. I'm never probably even going to meet his family, his kids, his nothing. So I don't even have to deal with that. So I've learned to perfect how to be a good side chick. It's not glamorous. I'm just being honest. I'm just being real. A lot of people probably want to get on here and tell y'all this story, but I'm not afraid. And I know it's going to be some comments that's like, what? She said she is good at being a side chick, but I am. I know all the rules of the game. I know when to be quiet. I know when to not. I know what to do. I know
Sonya needs
everything.
to watch this
So,
video.
but I'm not the problem. I'm not the problem. I'm not the reason your husband cheated. I'm not the reason your husband is cheating. What I don't want you to do is take this video and then internalize something based off of what he's doing. He's a man. He gonna do what he wanna do. But that doesn't necessarily mean he don't like you. That doesn't necessarily mean he don't want to fool with you. He just want to do what he want to do. He come up with excuses why he cheated. But that's not the real excuse. He was bored. He was bored. He wanted to come play with me for a couple hours. He was bored with you because you on the same routine. He don't want to deal with his kids today. So yeah, I'm fun. We gonna have a good time. We gonna laugh. We gonna joke. But oh, promptly at 8 p.m., I'm sending him back home to you because I'm done with him too. I'm tired of him too. Yeah, like you tired of him, and y'all come on these videos, and then y'all don't even be liking your own husband. Y'all don't like him. He get on your nerves. You don't want to have sex with him all the time. You like, I'm tired. I got the kids. Or y'all having lazy sex. Or you not even giving him good head because all y'all do is argue. You don't even want to have sex every day. So what you mad that he got a mistress for? What you mad that she's giving him what you don't want to give him? You're internalizing it and making it about you when he just probably wants to do what he wants to do. He probably married you at a young age or whatever the case may be. But stop taking it so personal.
Boy, she's
Stop
gaslighting the
taking it so
wives.
personal.
She's gaslighting the
You
main
don't want
chick.
to do it, but then you don't want him to do it. Because he took vows, but you also took vows. Unconditional love. That's what it is. It's loving without conditions. And a lot of y'all gonna be like, nah, that ain't unconditional love. It is though. It is. And you are part of a marriage that he feels like every now and then he wants a one-off. He want to go have fun. He don't want to talk about the electricity bill and the grocery bill and all of these things. And you like, well, Keena, he shouldn't have got married to me. He should have did this. He probably didn't want to. It was probably you wanted to get married to him. But whatever the case may be, and now you're married, don't take it out on me because he want to have fun with me.
So apparently her position is it's the wife's fault. It's not the man's fault. Doesn't that sound familiar? Sounds like something Sonya would say. Sonya obviously didn't follow the rules or is not following the rules. This young lady, Miss Keena, looks like that she has a set of rules that she plays by when she plays with married men. She actually has some boundaries and standards, I guess you could say, considering her position, but she is gaslighting the F out of married women. And she's talking to me, she's talking to the wives of the men that she's cheated with, and she's talking to the women in the comments who don't agree with her lifestyle. And she's keeping it real, she's keeping it from her perspective. So yeah, this is interesting to me. I didn't watch the whole thing. I think I got maybe about the first 6 or 7 minutes, but I did want to finish watching this up with everyone here. So tell me what you think. What do you think is going on here? I know you don't have as much information as I do because again I watched part 1 and 2, but just on the surface, do you see some similarities as to her thinking and what's going on in this modern current day live action drama, the Nesto Chronicles?
He want to give me some money. He want to pay my rent. He want to pay my car note. That shouldn't have no bearing on you because he not going to choose me. I'm not going to let him choose me. I'm going to send him home. I'm going to be the best side chick, girlfriend, whatever he's going to have because I'm not going to overstep boundaries. A lot of wives, they don't really care if their husband is cheating. They just want it to be done discreetly. It becomes a problem, only becomes a problem if he's so sloppy that it embarrasses them. A lot of y'all just don't want to be embarrassed. Say that. Say, Keena, you know what? I just don't want to be embarrassed. I know he might swerve off. I know he might do what he want to do. But that should have no bearing on how you feel about you. Because sometimes it doesn't have anything to do with you. You internalizing it and making it all about you. Like, well, he cheated because I'm not adequate. No, you're very much adequate. He had a one-off. He wanted to explore something outside of himself because maybe sometimes you make him feel like he can't share those moments with you. So he gonna come tell me I wanted to do this and I wanted to do that, and I'm gonna be like, oh, that sounds amazing. You gonna be like, why you wanna do that? You trying that again? You're an egg. I've perfected this art, so I'm going to be his biggest cheerleader because I don't have to deal with him on a day to day. If I had to deal with him on a day to day, he probably get on my nerves too. Matter of fact, that's why some days I don't answer my phone for him, cause he get on my nerves. So I know he get on your nerves, but I don't want to be bothered day to day with nobody. I, what? Be bothered every day with the same person? No. There is only one person that I will entertain being bothered with on a daily basis. One person. But everybody else, you gotta go. You can't spend the night here. No.
Hey,
You ain't gotta
Shan.
call me when you get home because I don't want to talk. 8 to 8, them my hours. Like, don't try to want more from me. Cause soon as I want some more from you, you're gonna tell me no. So what I've learned in a nutshell is how to be a married man. Yeah. I move and I act just like a married man. I know the time slots.
And I know that this is something that a lot of women, like in the women's sphere, I guess you can call it that. Even Friends says it. These male identified women, and that is what I'm getting from what she's saying right here. That she knows how to act like a married man, and I find that very interesting. Shan, you said, "Girl, you need a roommate like I got." And I said what I said, glorified hoeing, in my opinion. Exactly. Like I said, she's minimizing her role. She's also too propping herself up. I can't imagine her just sitting there and being happy. Maybe she learned to sit there in her place and learn to maneuver or make her her circumstances fit her lifestyle, and it made it okay for her. Because if she was in love with this man, I don't care what she says. If you're in love with a man, and this guy in particular, he's a married man, and he's sleeping with another woman, you know that he's going home to another woman. She's getting all the benefits of a wife that you're pretending to not really care about. You know you feel some type of way. So, in order for her to maintain this relationship, in order for her to still be with this man, in order to make sure that he still is coming around, she accommodated him. She made her personality fit what he wants. And it became a habit for her, but she doesn't see it now as being groomed. I agree with her early on assessment on the other videos. She has been groomed. It's a way of thinking, it's a lifestyle for her, and she's made it work for her. And she's minimizing again her role. So she's gaslighting anybody who questions her decision or her choices. Like I said, she's very similar to Sonya in that manner. Sonya is trying to sell us a bill of goods and saying that she's happy doing what she's doing with Nesto. Luckily for us, we get a peek into these phone calls, and she's telling us one thing, but then we see on the phone calls or the Zoom visits or the video visits, there's something else going on there.
I know what to do. I know how to handle situations. So, whew, it took the whole video for me to even figure that out. Like, that's crazy. But yeah, that's what I've learned. I've perfected the art of being a side chick, a good one. And I have learned how to be a married man. Drop your comments below. If I need to do a part two to this, let me know that as well. And of course, drop some comments because I'm going to respond. I'm not scared. I'm not ashamed of this person. I am who I am. A lot of y'all live y'all lives in despair because y'all don't want to just say who y'all are for real. I know who I am for real. Would I ever entertain somebody that's single? Yes, I would entertain somebody that's single. But I'm so set in my ways, it will be hard to get me out of the routine of dating a married man because I know he got to go home. I know I'm not gonna see him on holidays. I know I know how to do that. Being with a single man and he want all my attention and all my time and he want to call me all times of the day and night. No, 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 no. I don't want that. I've been with yeah. Yeah. I don't. I wouldn't even know what to do with a single man. He would get on my nerves, to be honest. That's like one of my questions when I meet you or date you. Do you have a wife? Are you single? Are you single? Bummer. But you have a wife, you have a girlfriend, you in a long term committed relationship. I might entertain it because there's not much I want to do with you. I'm very independent. I got my own things. So the little things that you are going to do, you're going to add to the things I already have going on. No, I don't want to jump through no hoops with you. No, I don't want to split no bills with you. No, and you cannot spend the night because I like sleeping alone. So yeah, and I'm gonna tell you about the sleeping alone thing real quick. I learned that at a very young age too. I learned that before I messed with the married men, my grandparents, one lived at one end of the hall, one lived at the other end of the hall. They never slept in the same bed. I've never seen it. Never. They loved each other. She died. My grandmother died before my grandfather. He loved her. He never recovered from it. But guess what? Yeah. My grandfather also had a mistress. Definitely. He definitely had a mistress. And we would go see her twice a week. He would take some money in the house. He would be in there about 10, 15 minutes. He would come out the house and he would tell me, you know what? You know what to do, right? Don't tell your granny I was over here. And you know what I would do? Keep his secrets. I've been keeping men's secrets for a very, very, very long time. So,
So
yeah.
she comes by this honest. It's in her family. And it
Yes.
doesn't
Like I
mean, I'm
said,
not
drop some
saying
comments
that
below. Let me
to say
know
that if you come from
what
that
y'all
kind of
think.
background that you would
And of
accept this
course, if I
type of
need to address
behavior.
anything, if I need to address my side chicks, and if I need to address my wives, let's go. Let's have a panel. Any questions y'all got, I'm gonna tell y'all. If y'all man is cheating, if y'all man he ain't cheating with me, cause at this time I ain't messing with nobody. So he ain't cheating with me. Don't get on me. I ain't I ain't got nothing going on right now. So yes. But yes, drop your comments. Let me know. DM me. Please follow me on Instagram. And until next time, I'll be back with another video, you guys, real soon. I love you guys. You guys take care. Bye.
Okay, so what did you think? I didn't watch this all the way to the end. Let me look at some of you guys. Let me read some of the comments. Lady T Bug, she's too cocky. Yeah, she is very cocky. She's a very beautiful young lady. Like I said what I said. She does not have to date married men. She looks like she has a look about her that she wouldn't have any trouble finding male companionship. Generational curse. Yeah. And like I was saying, just because you come from that type of background, you don't have to continue to indulge in it. But apparently, like I said, she comes by honest. She, from an early age, watched these type of relationships play out in her own home. Girl, that Girl, that's after decades together, separate rooms. My granddaddy didn't have a mistress, and my roommate better not either, because it's gonna be some slow singing and dirt slinging. I heard that. And Shan, look, I know how you get down just by talking to you here for the last few months on YouTube. Hey, I'm that way too. There's gonna be some furniture moving. Yeah, something's gonna shake for real. Something's gonna shake for real. He said she needs to learn how to tell a story. Yeah, you know what? There's a young lady I've been looking at her videos, kind of binge watching them when I'm just doing stuff like cooking, cleaning, or doing my hair, whatever. And she's a young lady. She's in her 20s, and she can tell a story. She got, I don't know, she got, oh God, hundreds of videos up on YouTube. telling little stories. It's a young girl. She's out of, I believe she's out of like the Inglewood, Los Angeles area, and she got so many stories. Even in her short lifetime, I kind of side eye them, except that she's consistent. You know how somebody tells a story and then eventually you'll catch them in a lie, you'll catch them contradicting themselves. I don't find that with her. She's just out there in those streets. You know, she is really a city girl, and she's outside. In the words of Della Reese, I'm a hoe, but I'm an honest hoe. Exactly, exactly. So yeah, I was listening to her, and like I said, I think she says these things, or she has said these things to herself to kind of make it okay. And if you were here early on in the video, she kind of laid down her rules and boundaries. And those rules and boundaries really are basically her conforming herself to fit into the world of a married man. So are they really boundaries? Are they really rules? She just learned how to be happy being the other woman. That's all it is. She just found a way to be happy, being, in my opinion, anyway, being the other woman. And is she really happy? Like someone said, who said it? Let me scroll up again. Somebody said it. Latoya said, No way you could be happy with a married man." And then let me bring that back up. And then I said what I said, followed up with, "What woman is happy being second?" Even little Scooter uh, was happy when Shirley said she was done. So I think, like I said, for this moment, or this point, at this point of her life, she's reconciled to, if she's in a relationship with a married man, that she's going to do what it takes to make it work. Yeah, I definitely ain't taking that shit. I'd be done before I go through that BS. Exactly. And Vicky says she's basically learning how to play second fiddle and not learning how to actually build a relationship. Exactly. So I would be curious as to what she's doing today. Like I said, I don't think she's posted anything in over a year. And but if you look at the comments, there are some that are newer, but there's a lot of ladies who relate to what she's saying. And actually, before I even found her, because honestly, I just kind of did a YouTube search for women who are involved with married men. And at first, the only person I came up with was Shahara Seven, and she has a lot of content up there about um, being a side chick and all that other stuff. And then this came up as a recommend, but Shahara has some very interesting opinions in regard to that. So I just like I said, I'm a nerd. I'm an info junkie, and I like to kind of go behind the scenes and kind of dig a little deeper. So this is where that rabbit hole took me, and so I'm going to be interested in what my recommends bring to me next in regards to content like this. But she has a lot that I would not mind just hanging out with you guys and going through some of the things that she talks about, because like I said, Sonya is out here trying to sell side chicking or side henning as a way of life and as an acceptable way of life. And from a moral standpoint, I don't believe that. And just on a personal level, it has to be, like I said, she's propping herself up here. This lady here, what's her name? Keena. Keena's propping it up like it's all good, but it is all gravy. But I do see in her body language and even in her eyes, she's not that happy. She puts on a pretty smile, but there's just something about her spirit and her energy that tells me, yeah, she's telling us this, and she's speaking with authority. But I sense some emptiness or some loneliness or some sadness in her. Right, Bank. In my opinion, she doesn't think she's worthy of the first seat. No, she doesn't. And she clearly, I mean, I think every woman has a value. Every person has a value, and you shouldn't devalue yourself. And you find that from people I know, because like I said, we all know somebody who's. I think most of the people here listening has been in a situation where you know of someone in this situation, and of course you don't have to disclose. We'll never ask you to, but some of us may have been in this position. So you know, we all have different life experiences, and not everything is peaches and cream all the time. In my opinion, side chick sit back and wait for the wife to be done. So they can take their place. It's interesting you say that because let me share this with you. I was going to do a video on with Shahara 7, and when I did that video, I kind of took some of the comments from that video when she was talking about how Shahara's video when she was talking about how to be a side chick. So let me see if I can bring that up, and let's see because I already uploaded. I don't know if StreamYard keeps it. Yeah, it does. Thank goodness. Okay, so let me go ahead and bring that up, and let me move my screen so I can actually read it. So I kind of put some slides together in response to Shahara Seven's video. So I hope I don't confuse you, ladies. But I just wanted to read some of the comments. So in this comment, it was from Dr. B Speaks. It says, when I was younger and dumber, I was a side chick. When I became older, I was the wife of a man that cheated. It sucked. What I learned from being on both sides is that the wife always has the upper hand. And I agree that a man 9 times out of 10 will not leave his wife. The man will not leave unless the wife forces him or makes him sign the divorce paperwork and does not let him back in. Some married women don't even care if the other person cheats because they have too much invested to leave. A side chick will turn into a bag of bones before a man leaves his wife. I'd advise against it. It's not worth the wait or the risk. And let's go to the next slide. The next comment was, I've been both, and what I've learned is that the side chick has more fun and a lot less stress. The wife has to deal with all the ups and downs and problems of real life, marriage, and running the household, not to mention the kids. The side chick is there for fun. Good news, accomplishments, and travel opportunities are shared with the side chick. When shit goes too heavy or serious, that is for the wife. Some men even sit up and talk negatively about the wife to the side chick. And sometimes it's all bad for the wife, especially if he's dusty. And this next comment, I believe it was in response to this comment. I'm not sure, but that's not the point. This person says, one suggestion: don't call the wife. She needs to find out by accident, and she needs to call you, or else the man will be resentful. You need to be blameless. And the reason why this comment popped up is because in the video, Shahara advises the side chick that if she really wants that man, if she really wants him, that she should call the wife and tell the wife, about the affair. So that's what this comment is about. And then someone puts, I wouldn't let nobody know I was desperate for a man. Y'all would never get the man to leave home. Just keep wasting time and ending up being a 30-year mistress like your mom and grandma. So she's speaking to that whole generational thing that, Kina was just saying. LOL. I knew a side chick that called the wife. The guy left her and their marriage actually got married. Sorry, got better. So what she said, oh, the guy left her, the side chick, and his marriage to the wife actually got better. Side chick went nuts and actually tried to hurt the wife crazy. And that would be my concern too about, messing around with somebody else's husband, somebody else's, husband or spouse. We watch enough true crime to know how that could turn out. So she's absolutely right. So I call the wife out of respect. This comment from Kiki. I called the wife out of respect, though I wanted to know the truth. He was upset for a while, and of course we stopped talking. He came back. They always come back, which may not be a good thing. There's something seriously wrong with men who cheat. And then the person follows up, replies to her, was it Black Raspberry? You called trying to break up the marriage. The wife don't owe you shit. Something is definitely wrong with women who mess with married men. And now I believe, let's see, I got two more. I'm sorry, y'all. But I thought this was interesting because it kind of relates to this last video we watched. Okay, this seems like a lot of effort. Most men who cheat are opportunists. If you say no, they'll just keep poking their stick around until they find a woman to be his mistress who thinks she's better than the wife. When he starts cheating on her too, she wants to be sister friends with the wife, shaking my head. Exactly. And that happened to a friend of mine. Her husband at the time, he was doing maintenance work for a couple of apartment buildings because the landlord that they were currently renting from needed somebody to do it, and he could do it. and she got a call. She got that call about, from one of the women that he was messing around with, because he was messing around with a lot of women, and he was meeting these women from these apartment complexes. And she said that she already kind of knew that he was messing around. They had a history before they even married, but I guess she thought when he put a ring on it, it was going to stop. And not to say she wasn't hurt, but she was just like, she asked the young lady, like, why are you calling me now? Because I guess the young lady he was cheating with found out he was messing around with other women. And she's like, why are you calling me? So you everything was fine when you thought that he was just messing with you. Now you found out that he's messing with a whole bunch of other chicks. You want to bring it to my doorstep. Don't call me no more. And of course she dealt with him. But that's what this comment is saying. The side chick all of a sudden wants to be the sister wife when she feels like she's been done wrong by that same man. Now this last one, Lady T, you'll be impressed. I used my AI voice because this was a long one and I didn't want to read it. So let's see how it sounds. Wait a minute, it's not playing. Oh, let me see if I can bring the audio up. I thought the audio would automatically play on this slide. It did when I set it up. Let me see what's up. But you guys can look at it. If you can see it, it's a lot. It's a lot there. It is a lot. Well, let me bring it in as an audio clip. I think I should be able to do that. Okay, here it goes.
Where do people get their ideas on this subject? They never leave their wife, especially if they have kids. Listen, the divorce rate in America is over 50%, and most of those people do have kids. In America, there's one divorce approximately every 36 seconds. That's nearly 2,400 divorces per day, 16,800 divorces per week, and 876,000 divorces a year. I don't know where the hell that saying comes from. It's crap. Furthermore, people who have been hurt or cheated on love to say once a cheater, always a cheater. But being unhappy in your marriage does not mean that you have no respect for marriage in general, or that you want to be a big fat cheater for the rest of your life. It just means your marriage is falling apart and you're miserable. And it doesn't happen like one day everything is fine and the next day you fight, get a divorce and move out. The change from being blissfully happy newlyweds to being completely miserable and wanting a divorce does not happen overnight. For most married couples, when the marriage is really bad, they are not sleeping together or having sex or being kind and loving to each other. Not even hugging, kissing, or calling each other honey anymore. That cold spell can go on for weeks, months, even years before even the strongest person finally breaks down and says, I can't handle this anymore. I have to get out. I miss being loved and I need real companionship again. Unfortunately, sometimes they snap and break down before a divorce happens, which in most states takes 3 to 6 months. They meet someone who shows them love, affection, admiration, and kindness, something they have been living without for too long, and they don't want to let that slip away. So they jump on it while it's there in front of them, even though they haven't filed for a divorce yet. Then it also depends on your beliefs about exactly when a marriage is over. Is it over the moment the court system finalizes the divorce? Is it over the moment you pack your bags and walk out? Is it over the moment you file for the divorce? Or the moment you fall out of love and decide that your future is definitely not going to be with this person, no matter what? So far, everyone I have talked to has a different opinion about that. Is that person a scumbag cheater who could never be faithful to anybody and has no respect for marriage? Well, those people certainly do exist, yes. But most people who stray from a marriage are just lonely and desperate for love because their marriage has been without it for a long time. It really depends on the situation. All situations, all marriages, all people are not the same. Where do people get their ideas on this subject? They never leave their wife, especially if they have kids. Listen, the divorce rate in America is over 50%, and most of those people do have kids. In America, there's one divorce approximately
My bad, y'all. I forgot it was on loop. I didn't mean to have it on loop. But anyway, this person's responding and saying that people cheat for various reasons. And I don't know if they were trying to justify cheating. I think they were trying to give more of a perspective as to why someone would cheat, or there could be various reasons why people cheat and step out of their marriage. And I think this comment was more fitting, not necessarily to Sonya, but maybe to Fonnie Willis and her situation with old Willie Earl, as I said what I said, and he calls him, and that the marriage is actually over. They're no longer really, they're more like roommates. Not the kind of roommate that Shan has. Shan doesn't have that kind of roommate, right? But I think that's what this comment is addressing. I just thought it was an interesting comment, and maybe I will review that video with Shahara 7, because I found that video honestly very shallow. But people love her content. I've never been a sprinkle girl. I never got into her. I just honestly found out about her about 6 months ago. But she definitely has a huge following on TikTok, and a lot of people like what she has to say. I think that she married a rich older guy, so she's really hypergamous and she's been successful at it. But I just thought that was an interesting comment that was dropped. And honestly, that this comment is 7 years old. That video that I'm referring to, the video I'm referring to, is about 8 years old, I think. But it's very interesting when you look at the comments, not only just on her video, but on the video we just watched, the video we watched with Miss Keena right here that I put back up on the screen. So I just thought that was interesting. Um, I thought that just kind of, like I said, being the nosy nerd that I am, I thought that I would just kind of dig a little deeper, because I'm very interested in what's going on with them, and I do like listening to the calls and picking them apart. But I don't want to be burnt out on them. And I don't, again, want that to be the mainstay or the purpose of my platform. Yes, it's great content right now and it's hot, and we all want to talk about it, and we all have something to say. Because I tell you what, um, this is that whole the Nesto Chronicles is the gift that just keeps giving. And and so yeah, I thought that we could kind of talk about this, or I just kind of pointed out, because I'm not married, I've never been married, but I can only imagine being in a position, finding out that your man is cheating, and not because he no longer loves you, quote unquote loves you, or that he wants to leave you. He just does it for sport. And it sounds like that she messes around with married men, or just serial cheaters. They never are going to leave their wives. And just real quick before I forget, she mentions early on in the video, if you remember, she said something about people just want to win, and how when the wife found out that he was cheating, she wanted him. And when he found out his wife was cheating, he wanted her. And here she is. Where's her place in all of this? That's what I don't think that she gets. And so, a little bit of a backstory. Supposedly, the wife started messing around with an old boyfriend, and he got in his feelings. So here you are, the side chick. You know that he's cheating, but then he feels some type of way because his wife is cheating. It's hypocritical. And this is the mindset of what she's dealing with, and she's cool with it. She's still willing to play her part. She's still willing to play her part in all of this, which I find interesting. So, like I said, I just, this, to get into the brain of someone who thinks like this and owns it, it's fascinating to me. Let me read some of you guys' comments. They think the wife will eventually leave. That is true. I think some of them do. I think in her case, she's just resigned to the fact that the wife may not leave, and that, in fact, she doesn't want the wife to leave. She'd rather be a side chick. And that also too brings me to Sonya, because I feel like she likes being a side chick. She don't really want Nesto all to herself. I mean, I think she thinks she does, but I think she got scared when it looked like he was going to get bonded out that last time. I said what I said. It sounds like a PSA to me. It does. And that's why I said I just went ahead and played it, because it's like somebody really, I guess it touched a nerve with them. It touched a nerve. I agree with the other comments though too. Like I said, the silly things like, why would you call the wife? I mean, you here sleeping with her man, then all of a sudden you make it her problem. I mean, yeah, it's her problem because you are, you know, you're sleeping with her husband, but for you to bring it to her door, You're not being accountable, and you're stupid. Lady T Bug, this is too much. I said what I said. I never get tired of the Chronicles of Nesto and Little Scooter. I love that name, Little Scooter. But I always say, I saw somebody put it in phone calls from prison, and I just fell out. I think it's like Pam, the designer. I can't remember her full name, but she had said so. Sonya is a a grown woman, a black woman trapped in the body of a 12-year-old white boy. And then Lady T Book says, that's why I don't cover every call. Yeah, I had to learn the hard way. I do like listening to them when they're fresh. And, I do actually like even going back and listening to some of them, just to kind of refresh jog my memory. But I have more, it creates more questions. And I start going there. My mind just starts traveling to other places. Like, what do side chicks really think? And are people on here sharing their side chick stories? Because, on social media, especially YouTube, people tell everything. And it's usually our young ladies, but I was looking for content in particular for women that are a little older and seasoned. So I was very surprised to find this lady's content. When I did go look for this particular content, what I found was a lot of men having opinions about it. I can just go listen to Steve Harvey Think Like a Man if I want to. I ain't interested in the male's perspective because, yeah, they are men that may have cheated or they deal with women on the level of men, male female relationships. Excuse me. But I wanted to hear from a woman. I wanted to hear a woman who's willing to fess up and give their perspective. And so far, she's the only one that I really found. I'm pretty sure that YouTube will start serving me more of this content. Shan, men cheat for various reasons, and it's weird that women can stay faithful even when they are not with what they want. A lot of men are some stupid creatures. Yeah, actually, because they think with the small head and not the big head, and they're impulse driven. They think differently than we do. We're more focused on the emotional side of relationships, the love and all that other stuff. And they're kind of focused on the physical side of it. And some of them don't even think, breaking their vows, physically being intimate with somebody is that they're doing anything wrong. I mean, for a lot of women, emotional cheating is enough. I said what I said. I just fell out when that bitch said, it's my white side of me. She works my last nerve. Yeah, that whole Caucasian thing. That's why I was kind of teasing Vicky when I asked her that question on the live the other night uh, about her with her Caucasian edges. That just tickles me that Sonya really thinks somebody looks at her and sees white. Listen, look, I am a Gen Xer. I'm a child of the '70s. When I grew up, or as I was growing up, I knew a lot of biracial, what we call them mixed people. I went to school with a lot of biracial people. And one of my really good friends from high school, she was very fair skinned, very like way lighter than Sonya. She had sandy brown hair, and it was so thick and wavy. She had truly a ponytail that braided down to her waist. It braided down to her waist, and both her parents were black. They were just light skinned. They were fair. They were, of a generation where they would have quote unquote passed the brown paper test. And I remember she said she was working we at the time we were teenagers, and she was working in a clothing store. So I'll say her name. It's no big deal. It's a common name. We called her Mel. It was short for Melanie. And Melanie or Mel said that she was working at the store once, and she was helping out some customers, and she was working at, did I say the store? I think it was called Webster's. It was a men's clothing store. And this couple came in, it was a white couple came in, and she was helping them out. So again, we were right around 16 or 17. So I'm talking about the late 80s. And the lady says to her, "Ma, you got a gorgeous tan. How did you get so tan? How did you get it so even?" And she said she kind of looked at him and was like, maybe it has to do with the fact that both of my parents are black. So, unlike Sonya, who claims her so called white heritage, Melanie was very clear in that, there was white blood flowing through her brain, her veins, and it was very close generationally. both of her parents, like again, they were very light skinned with very, wavy, loose hair. You know what I mean? That texture. And looking at them, you may at first glance kind of question, if they're black or white. And then um, again, I grew up at a time where nobody really. It's just that if you were mixed, you were black. Okay, the one drop rule was still in effect, and we as a community we claimed them, and they claimed us. Not like today where they decide to categorize themselves any way they wish, and they in general were socialized in the black community. So she was raised by two black parents, and they were professionals. Our mother worked in corporate America, and so did her dad. But they always knew that they were black, and that's how they socialized, and that's how they raised her, to be a black woman. So when we got fast forward, we got to our college years. She went to a historically black college. She actually went down to the University of what it was it. She went to University of South Carolina A&M. I think Lady Tiba, correct me. I know you know about the HBCUs, but she felt like the academics wasn't that it wasn't on par. So she ended up transferring to our state college. But she was told by a professor that she will have an easier time in corporate America because white folks won't be able to figure her out. In other words, she's passable. She will fit into corporate America. So I remember when we were talking about dating and relationships, we're young adults. She hated her blackness always being questioned. So she said, "You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to marry the blackest man that I can find, so no one will ever question what my kids are." And I thought that was very sad, even at that time. Her preference were black men, but eventually she guess what? She married somebody from the continent. I believe that her now ex-husband was from Africa, and if you look at her kids, yeah, they identify as black, and they look like just your average black young folk. So I just wanted to add that in with Sonia talking about these Caucasian edges, but yeah, I hope that wasn't too off topic for you guys. But I just want to address that comment that I said what I said, put in there. Lady T, but somebody's going to pump some hot lead in her. Who are you talking about, Sonya? I think didn't that already happen? Let's see. A lot of men are sex addicts, also until they get older. Let's see. My little sis just sent me a pic today where she blow dried her hair. I told her she looked like George Clinton. Her hair goes to her butt, and she's about 5'5". That's funny because I had to wash my. I hate washing my hair. I hate doing my hair because it's natural. I don't put a relaxer in my hair anymore. I think I've been without a relaxer for about 10 years, and it's thick. It's not as thick. It's starting to thin in the front. That darn age thing and hormones and all that other stuff. But I got a brush dryer because using that handheld, my arm would be ready to fall off, and my hair holds water. So I blew my hair out too. I'm about the same height as your sister. My hair is not down to my butt now. My grandmother's hair was down to her butt, and I remember her telling me that when I was like 10 years old. We were sitting there, and her hair was up in a bun, or sometimes she just wear it in a plait, and it would just fall to the middle of her back. And I was like, "Grandma, when you was my age, how long was your hair?" And she was like, "It was down to my waist." I was so jealous. I was looking like, no, my hair, it follows my hair even now. It falls well past the middle of my back. And I'm thinking about getting it all cut off because I'm tired of it. My mother, she's faded. And I'm thinking, I don't know if I want to go that far, but I do want to cut my hair. But yeah. So I guess, I got a little bit of Caucasian edges in me, even though if you look at my skin, I am a dark skinned black woman. You wouldn't know it. Let's see. Latoya says, Sonya thinks she could take Nesto from Shirley. Well, now she can have him. Shirley said he's on the market. She's done with that ninja. For real, Latoya. And she really not his type. He wants her to keep that bob look to remind him of Shirley. That's what I'm saying. I said what I said. I don't know why she wears that ponytail because he has said many a times he really don't like that ponytail. South Carolina State Bulldogs. All right. Yeah, she. I want to say she went to. Is it South Carolina A&T, because my cousin went there too, and that's another story because we're cousins, but we're like third cousins. But you know how black folks are, how we do it. That's my cousin, and I didn't know him. We lived in the same city, but he had the same last name as mine. So when Mel met him, and they both were from our city, and she was like, "I know somebody with that same last name," and we come to find out that we're cousins. It was a small world. She's about your complexion too. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, my grandmother, I was told that my great grandfather, my grandmother's father was from the West Indies. I don't know if it's, Haitian, or if he's Haitian, or if he's from Jamaica, or do they consider Jamaica part of the West Indies? The Dominican Republic. I don't know. I really would like to know. I really would like to look into that. But he was probably about as dark as Nat King Cole, with thick, curly, like wavy, or what we call quote unquote good hair. And the irony is that my great grandmother was very light. She could pass, and she had a little bit of colorism too. But she married this dark chocolate man, and she proceeded to have three brown children with very long, pretty, quote unquote, pretty hair all the way down to their butt. And I always just found that kind of interesting how people, I remember people make concessions, people who have color issues, they'll make concessions if the girl or the guy has, quote unquote, pretty hair. Oh, you was talking about the one on the screen. Oh, okay. Now that makes sense. That makes sense. I'm sorry. I didn't realize you were talking about her. Yep, Lady T Bug. He is all hers. Okay, so what we're gosh, this time is flying. I really wanted to show this next video that I pulled up. Maybe we'll do a little bit of it and continue a little later on, because I don't want this to go too long. But I think it's right in the wheelhouse again of these this whole topic of these Nesto Chronicles, or the Little Scooter Chronicles, as I said what I said, pointed out. And there's another channel that I watch, and this is the nerd, the business nerd in me, that watches this channel. And I consume a lot of her content. Her name is Erica Williams, and like I said, she's more on the business side. But before I started even watching these this whole mess with Shirley Strawberry and Ernesto, I was watching this lady for a few years, and I remember her doing a video talking about Atlanta, and what's the landscape and what's going on in Atlanta. So I let me pull up that video. She's actually on the video with she has a co-host this day, and his name is Diamond Dave, and I really like him too because he's more on the financial side, but he talks real life. And Lady T-Bug, you'd be interested to know he's from Florida. He's a Florida guy, and he knows his stuff. He knows it like this. He's into options trading, so he's out here trying to help us get financially secure outside of just doing the regular side hustles. So Erica talks a lot about business, and her real interest is it's a couple of things. It was into trucking, and then it moved into like real estate. Now she's into virtual real estate. In other words, making money online. But they have an interesting perspective, and to me, they're nerds just like I am. So I'm going to pull that video up. I don't want it to start playing because it will. And let me get my StreamYard set up and the screen set up the way I like to see it, and we'll watch a little bit of this. I just find it very interesting because they talk about what's going on in Atlanta right now. Not just they're talking about the economics. They're talking about the the social makeup, how things are how the city is um, going through a lot of changes. The landscape has changed, and for me, as someone who was in love with Atlanta back in the '90s, it's very eye opening. So let me go ahead and pull that up.
about Atlanta. Atlanta is the battle for America, and I think it'll play out in multiple cities. We can use the word gentrification, but we can also use examples of other cities to show you what's going to happen in Atlanta is going to happen in your city as well. If you're in the chat, drop your city and state, and thank our lovely co-host,
like I said,
Mr. Diamond Dave. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience.
What's going on, Erica? This is David
That'll be
W. Williams, also known as Diamond Dave, the founder of the Highest Paid Part-Time Job and the Word Options Training Program. But I'm really happy to be here to talk about this issue with Atlanta and to give a lot of people some context. I lived in Atlanta for around 6 or 7 years before I started moving in Atlanta. I'm from the state of Florida. We would go to Atlanta on a regular basis because I'm old enough to remember that's what a lot of the really nice clubs was at outside of maybe Miami. So being in between those, we would go either up to Atlanta, go down to Miami. So I saw Atlanta, started moving to Atlanta like in the late 90s, early 2000s before we started seeing a lot of the changes that we're currently seeing today.
Love it, love it. So you guys, as you know, I was looking for Airbnb in Atlanta for a long time and Nashville for a long time. And
real quick, just to let you know that echo is on Erica's end. I don't know if you already picked that up. So it's not about me or my audio or my video. It's her an echo on her end, but the talk is so interesting, at least to me, the nerd in me, that I can tune it out.
And the same time I left North Carolina to come to Texas, or flipped a coin and left, it started to boom, right? And I've done it on this channel for years now. There's a Forbes Boomtown list that has 16 towns on it, and it's always had those up there. But before that, I went to a real estate conference in North Carolina before I moved. They said, hey, we're going to break up these tech companies from California and high taxes, and they're going to move it to, and they named off like 6, and it was like Atlanta, but they really meant Alpharetta, Nashville, Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, Charlotte, somewhere in Florida. It was like northern Florida state. And then it was also Austin, Texas, and then also another tech hub. But essentially, that's what's happened. That's what's occurred over the past 6 years. And you're going to see it on steroids. Something I've been talking about with Diamond Dave is the fact that what I see play out in Atlanta plays out almost everywhere else. And I feel because, prime example, Texas and Florida got a lot of flack in the news for the no mask mandates. But Atlanta and Nashville were doing the same thing. Tennessee, the whole state, and Atlanta, Georgia were on, let's go outside.
Yeah.
And so we just took a lot of flack for it. So I always tell people, these systems repeat each other. The land developer over the city planning in Austin, Texas, got a job promotion to Raleigh, North Carolina. So these people kind of have the same skills, and they keep moving around the same circles. It's very few people that have these strategic long-term planning goals. So part of why I'm trying to address this is a lot of people say, well, Erica's the crime. The crime's out of control. And I propose to you, it's bigger than that. It's deeper than that. And I'll let Diamond Dave kind of kick in here some, because, you know, it's deeper than that. People think, oh, well, it's just crime. We got to get this crime under control.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I saw when I was living in Atlanta is that they had this area, and people in Atlanta know it called the Beltway. And essentially, it's like a square block they built around the city. That's kind of like a walking path. It's really for people to go and enjoy themselves and exercise. And what we saw was that a lot of the development around the Beltway started to really accelerate, and the houses around that particular area started to get very, very expensive. And these were some of the areas of Atlanta that people a lot of times historically did not want to live. Live in. And what you're seeing with Atlanta, to me, is a desire to bring in a higher income person, and that can pay the cost of living actually inside the city, and then pushing the poor people out. And because Atlanta historically was an area where all the money had kind of left the city, left actual city limits. Everybody was living outside, and a lot of the poverty was inside the city. What we're seeing all over the country is they're starting to take the cities back. So for a lot of us, we're too young to remember when you had higher income people actually living in the inner city. And then you had a switch to where they left and went to the suburbs, and they let poor people come into the inner cities. Now we're seeing a lot of that turn around, and Atlanta is really showing that. And to me, they're using the crime as a justification, but they're going to get everybody out of the city, right, that doesn't want to kind of abide by the rules. And they understand that you can't have a city full of violent criminals and attract people with a lot of money because they're not going to pay to live in that kind of environment.
Right. So prime example I think of this is a lot of news reports are
Guys, I'm
showing you're
sorry
going to have the
about
biggest
that.
exodus from
That
cities that you've
glitch.
had in the past
But when you
50
switch your
years.
tab,
Now,
sometimes with
when we talk
StreamYard,
about cities, I'm just going to go there. People don't think Atlanta.
let me pause real quick. I just want to explain that little glitch right there. If you're using StreamYard, you'll find sometimes if you switch tabs, if you touch it, it'll freeze up on you. And I was trying to switch back to my actual YouTube back studio, so that's why you got the frozen screen. And I was actually talking to you guys, but I had it on mute, so I apologize. But yeah, Lady T-Bug, I think he's either from Tampa or Miami. I'm not sure. He spent a lot of time in both of those places, but I think he's in Atlanta right now. Just want to give you that FYI.
Atlanta, right? Because Atlanta can fit inside of South Dallas. When people say, and I'm just going to go there, right? When people talk about cities leaving major cities, they're talking about Los Angeles. They're talking about New York City. They're talking about Chicago, which they have been flooding, losing people left and right. They're talking about parts of from Philly on up, right? High density locations. People are trying to maximize their money
So then he's probably
and go
from
somewhere that's
Tampa.
safe and also has opportunity for the future. Atlanta has been that place, right? And we make a joke. There's memes all over the internet. Girl, don't move to Atlanta, right? Your soulmate in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Don't just fix your life. Don't just move to Atlanta. And it's been this consistent joke, right? Texas and Atlanta, honestly. If you go on Instagram, if you go on YouTube right now, you look up people relocating. It's a lot of young Black women, a lot of Black people going, I'm moving to Atlanta. I'm moving to Houston, Texas. I'm gone. And what you have to understand is you get a whole nother series of backlash videos that go, they don't want to pay no money. First thing you go is, well, what's wrong? Well, man, I was making like $20 an hour, $25 an hour in New York, and I'm making $12 an hour in Atlanta. Now, first things first, they ain't paying nurses $12 an hour in Atlanta.
Yeah.
They're not paying doctors $12 an hour in Atlanta. They're not paying oncologists, radiologists. They're not paying engineers. They're not paying all these people these poor wages in the South, because that's just not true. We all know that's not true. What you're hearing from is the unskilled masses who've moved to Atlanta, and yeah, they were receptionists in New York, but now being a receptionist in Atlanta is what? Teenagers can do that.
Yeah.
It's unskilled. Now, this isn't just an Atlanta problem. This is also a Denver, Colorado problem. A lot of Denver, Colorado folks moved from California. A lot of those folks moved into Utah. A lot of them moved into Arizona. But what you have is this bulk of people who are like, I cannot afford to live in this more expensive city. I must relocate. But they're coming with just their hand, their extra kids, and themselves. Yep, you are saying this is very true. Same thing about Nashville. When I talk about I see $1 million townhouses in Nashville, and people go, are there Black people in Nashville? I go, yes, it was 30% Black people at one point. Now I don't know what the numbers are. And they have a historically Black college in their city. But the key here is when people relocate, what are they coming with? Yes, this city has jobs, but what type of jobs? But I'll let you go ahead. I don't want to.
No, you're right. I mean, you're
100%.
You're 100% correct. A lot of people, and the perception is, especially in the Southeast, is that I'm from a smaller town. I'm going to move to a bigger city. Well, why really? Because I think there's more going on there, and I think there's more opportunity. But like you said, is that if you're an unskilled person, essentially it's going to be the same amount of opportunity no matter where you go, because you still got to accept the fact that you're an unskilled person, and there's a lot of people that can do the particular job that you may be looking for. So a lot of people show up in Atlanta and they do not have a plan. So they, one, don't have a job. Two, they don't have a plan. And they get there and they realize that the labor market isn't necessarily what they thought it was going to be. The cost of living keeps going up. You don't have really, really good mass transportation. You may be living on the north side and you may be able to find a job while on the south side. You got to try to figure out how you're going to get down there. And then it starts to become very hard to live in this particular environment. Atlanta's very sprawled out. Nothing is close. You got to drive to get where you want to go. You got to take the highway to pretty much get around the way you want to go. And so a lot of people that have come from a lot of smaller areas of the Southeast, they feel like, things aren't going the way I wanted to go. For my people that are living up north, they already know how it is. A lot of people that live in New York, they know that you sometimes got to work multiple jobs just to survive in these particular type of environments. They thought Atlanta was going to be easier for them because they feel like the cost of living was going to be lower. But if you're still an unskilled person, you don't come down with a skill set that's in demand, then you got to take less money. So even though you have a lower cost of living, is really not comparable. It's not like it's a come up. And so that's what a lot of people don't really understand, is that not having a skill set that is in demand in a particular area where you're tech, or maybe you got a skilled trade, or maybe you can do some type of entrepreneurship that's in demand, it's going to hurt you. And Ray Gun 30, 100% correct. Atlanta will eat you up without a plan. I've been telling people that a long time. It will just eat you up. There's so much going on down there. If you can't figure out how to get in that area and start being productive, Atlanta just roll over you.
So here's, and part of my argument with,
I'm going to pause right there because I want to skip to a part. And in fact, I have it already kind of queued up in the playlist, because what she does is, excuse me, she breaks this long live, which is over an hour. She breaks it down into parts. So I already have the part that I do believe, at least I thought I did. Was it this one? It might be this one. Let's see. Let me go back to the beginning because I already watched it. Oh, it's already starting. Let me.
Tourist fall, Classic Climb Tour.
And look, technical difficulties.
So here's, and part of my argument with people I try to say is, you have people from New York who moved to Atlanta 20 years ago, and you ask them, okay, hey.
So this segment of the video, they're talking about the crime, and we are well versed. Some of us got a good lesson on the legal system in Atlanta, like Fulton County, Cobb County, and she starts in this segment. They talk about the crime that's going on in Atlanta, and they're basically laying out, this whole video is them laying out the whole, like I said, how now Atlanta is. If you're going to come to Atlanta, this is what's going on. So they're going to talk about who's causing the crime in Atlanta.
Hey, oh, the price is going up. I'd be like, oh, where you bought your house? They ain't bought no house.
Yeah.
They moved over 20 years ago to a city after they just experienced having to get out of another city because of cost of living, and they didn't learn anything. They didn't learn anything. They didn't purchase anything. I wouldn't buy that for that price now. And a lot of times you think it's people who've lived there their whole life. No, sometimes it's people who relocate there and go, well, one day I might move back. I might go back to New York. I might go back. So just, I'm trying to be loose and free. And it's like, they never put any roots down. They never really invest themselves. And it gets dangerous, because what we have now is we have the children. And I know people get mad at me because they say, oh, you're blaming New York and New Jersey. It's not us, but it is. We have these children who are here. Parents are frustrated. They don't have a lot of job opportunities. They got these kids outside selling water. People say, oh, no, the kids want to do it. No, they don't. These kids don't want to be outside in 100-degree weather selling water. This isn't a choice. Now, the city wants to invest $70 million. And this is just the city. This isn't even the government. I don't know if you guys noticed today, the notice came out that they're going to hold a special session with Georgia's Congress to even locate more money.
Yeah.
Now, if you know anything about Georgia, and I'm just going to go there, it's one of them southern states where Atlanta is wonderful. It's modern. It's new. It's enjoyable. You go outside of some parts of Georgia and you like, what is happening? And why is this cop following me through the whole town? Yeah. As I go over to Georgia, Florida line, what's happening? You have some backward ways out there. Right? So if they're going to recruit this money to bring more police, double down on police, double down on traffic stops, double down on basically pat down, New York, stop frisk, what happens to that city? Massive concentration. Incarceration's been down. Black teen pregnancy has been down, all-time lows. Black teen graduation, high school graduation is up. So the narrative that, oh man, these black people, they just out of control, that's been over for the past 10 years. Yep. Right now, recently, the past 5 years, white women going to federal prison has been up 50%. Past 5 years. Why? Drugs. Poor people crimes. Trafficking pills from Florida to middle nowhere. Getting caught up. So that is there, right? That potential, if you start doubly policing these people for, hey, you didn't have your license plate updated. Hey, your driver's license isn't updated. Hey, you had this citation, you didn't pay it. Hey, you had this parking ticket, didn't pay it. What is that going to do for that city?
Yeah, I mean, and what you're saying is that for a lot of people that are in Atlanta that are living like what I call on the fringes, they're going to get policed really, really heavily. And a lot of the things that people were getting away with, they're not going to get away with anymore. And we were talking about
Ernesto,
before
you
that we
hear
believe
that?
that they're going to roll out another mass incarceration blitz, and I think that this is something that you're going to see all over the country, to where anytime they want to really, really start sweeping the area, they start doing a lot of gentrification. What you're also going to see with Atlanta is a lot of federal cases, a lot of state RICO cases are going to start coming out for particular areas. So I used to be in an area in Atlanta called Summer Hill that was kind of close to the old Braves Stadium. They want to clean out these type of areas that are close to downtown, that they can utilize, that are really, really can be very profitable areas from a real estate and a land development problem.
Now, this video is 2 years old, so it came out before Nesto got locked up. And you hear what he's talking about? He's talking about them cleaning up Atlanta. Fani Willis, this is what she has been hired to do. Everybody remembers that press conference. If you don't, she did a press conference about cleaning up Atlanta. Well before the whole Trump trial and all that other stuff. And all before the Willie Earl scandal. So this is what he's talking about. And he mentions our good friend Rico in here. And I love listening to him. Like I said, the name of his channel is Diamond Dave. Again, he does options training. He gives you information, financial information. He's there to put money in your pocket, but he also talks about these kind of issues. And whenever I can catch one of his videos, because he doesn't upload a lot, but when he talks, I listen. So there's some smart folks down there in Florida, right, Lady T-Bug?
And so what we're seeing, and I tell people this all the time, is that when you live in a particular area and you don't have a lot of power, and you're allowed to live there, is because the people in power don't see that your area is desirable. Once they believe that your area is desirable, they're going to use their power to get you out of that particular area. And so what we're doing is, and this is something that Mixed Hand is talking about, is going to era in a new era of a lot of really heavy, to me, overarching or kind of, I would say, overdone policing. But they're going to utilize that just to get their numbers up, to get people off the street that they feel are not productive and are not contributing. So we can clear a lot of areas out, so we can now usher in this new change of bringing in people that can actually pay us what we want for this property.
For sure. And one of my biggest things I tell people, I'm like, if Atlanta just invested in a regional, or it's the state of Georgia, invested in a regional mental health hospital, and swept the streets, let's just go there, swept the streets of the homeless that are endangering themselves and others, you see an overnight change. I mean, you'd have create jobs, you create opportunities, all kind of stuff out of that. But they're not interested in that, right? They're interested in the lock 'em up theory. So my biggest thing about Atlanta is, I'm trying to be careful. If you're advocating for tech to come to your city, you're advocating for people to leave where? New York, leave northern states, leave California to come fill those jobs, when those jobs could be filled with the people that are already there.
Yeah.
The pivot should be, how do we get more young black men in tech? How do we get more black women in tech? We shouldn't have, and unfortunately, there's a whole show I just saw the other day. Someone showed it to me, where they're like talking about strippers in Atlanta, like we're the number 2 stripper state, and and it's like, you shouldn't even be doing a show on that. There shouldn't be a show going,
video.
Look at us, we have made it. We are number 1 for stripping places. And it's like, as much as you want to promote Atlanta on the up and up, you have the what's his name, Cam Newton Smoke Cigar Place. You have these high-end restaurants. You have these really nice places. It's almost this love and attraction for that T.I., Shorty Low, and all them people. That old Atlanta, that freaknik Atlanta, that is no longer there. It's just no longer there.
Yeah, definitely. And what it was that you really had, and this is something I try to get people to understand, is that when you go to
I'm glad she made that point, because that old Atlanta is the Atlanta I fell in love with. My first solo trip, my first plane flight, I think I was 23 years old. I flew by myself for the first time down to Atlanta. And I even rented a car. I stayed at I don't know, I think did I stay downtown Atlanta? I don't remember where I stayed, but I know I was driving the streets of Atlanta with a paper map. This is before GPS. So I had to figure stuff out, but I was exploring Atlanta, and I fell in love with Atlanta. I went back quite a few times through the late 90s, early 2000s. I attended Freaknik, but I was a nerd, remember, and I was a good girl, so I wasn't down there popping my Uchi. We didn't twerk back then. It was pop that Uchi. I was down there just having a good time, and I had a good clean time. And like I've said before, to me at that time, the men, they Southern men, they like to, slap you on the butt, they like to talk that, but they were Southern. They were kind of gentlemanly. They were different from the men from the Midwest that I was used to. But so let's be clear. I wasn't that auntie that you're going to find on one of those videos down there at Freaknik, but we had a ball. I found out that my grandmother, after she passed away, I was about 30 when she passed away. I found out when we were doing her obituary that she was born in Atlanta, Georgia. She moved here to my city when she was 3 years old. So she's a Georgia peach, as my aunt says. So I always felt like, Georgia was in my blood. That's probably why when I went there for the first time, I fell in love. I fell in love with that Southern hospitality. And again, you remember at that time in the 90s, that's where Outkast was popping, Babyface L.A. Reid was popping, TLC was down there. It was slowly becoming the Black Mecca. Before Atlanta, it was Washington, D.C. So a lot of people from my city, they either moved to Washington, D.C. or they went down to Atlanta. A lot of people I went to high school with grew up in the neighborhood. There was like a whole little sub uh, division of people from my city down there in Atlanta. So if you wanted to go down to Atlanta, you knew somebody down there. I didn't have any relatives down there, but I had a lot of friends relocate down to that Atlanta area. We used to call it Hot Atlanta. And like I said, I wanted to move there, and it didn't happen because I fell in love. My peer group, I liked hanging out with my friends. I was working. I was trying to be upwardly mobile, and time just kind of got away. And now I'm just kind of rooted here. And I always wanted to go back to Atlanta just to visit for old time's sake. But more recently, I've been hearing so much negativity about Atlanta. I don't know if I want to go back down there. The last time I was in Atlanta was, I believe, in 2003. So we're talking about over 20 years ago, and that was for the NBA All-Star Weekend, and it was fun. I had a lot of fun even going back then, but now I don't know. It's Black Hollywood. It's a city of scammers. Everybody's hustling. There's tons of YouTube videos here. When I was doing this research of young ladies who have moved down to Atlanta and talking about their experiences and things of that nature. But I think for somebody like me, that I'm resting right now. I'm trying to move into the next phase of my life, which I call a life of ease. I'm trying to do what's easy for me, what's easy for Bank. Okay, so it may not be easy to you, but it's easy to me. I'm not into stressing myself and doing all that other stuff. Okay, so even in my approach to YouTube is I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. There's really no book to it. There's no textbook to it. I'm just going to do what's easy. So this is my phase, my life of ease, which now involves travel. So I will be in Las Vegas next month, the first part of next month. So Vicky, if you're still here, I need some places to eat. And I'm not just talking about the stuff that's on the strip, all that famous stuff. I'll Uber some food in and or DoorDash it, unlike Lady T Bug. But you get my point. Atlanta that I used to know is not the Atlanta of today. Let's see here. Latoy says, I've been going to Atlanta since I was little. Oh, do you have family down in Atlanta? And when was the last time when you were down there? I mean, what was your impression?
To Atlanta, a lot of the quote unquote Atlanta celebrities, they never lived inside the city because it was too expensive. Mm-hmm. So if you wanted to actually live inside the perimeter, but live in a really nice area, it was really, really expensive. So they were really living way out of the perimeter, out in the suburbs. Mm-hmm. And so even though they was quote unquote the face of Atlanta, they didn't even really live in Atlanta because it was really so expensive to actually live inside the city. What they're trying to do now is kind of expand that. So what they want is more areas actually inside the perimeter that are going to be acceptable places to live, where historically those places was lower income areas. They're just going to get those people out of those particular areas. And you're right, they could develop the people that are there. But when those particular people don't have the political power, they don't have the economic power, they get left out of that particular development issue because it's going to take money to develop them. They get left out of the conversation. And so we would rather put money into policing to incarcerate them as opposed to trying to develop them and utilize them because we already have the talent pool. We would rather bring people in from up north or maybe the West Coast or maybe even sometimes overseas.
Mm-hmm. And I was going to show y'all this map because I know y'all be like, where are you getting this data from? I always get the data from the... I know how it can be. Okay, so here we go. Here's the map that I was talking about right here. And so not even trying to be funny because people are like, oh, Erica, how can it be profitable to lock up people? It actually is quite profitable right now. There are no what do you call them, payphones on the corners anymore because we have all our cell phones, right? Payphones in prisons make on average like 100,000 to 300,000 a year. One payphone.
Global
Because
Link
they're getting
made a
that money
lot of
from where?
money
The
off of
family that wants to
Tanya
speak to their
and
loved one. Well,
Shirley
now the
alone.
prisons in North Carolina, because of the pandemic, are doing a laptop like Zoom call thing. And they're going to charge you 3 cents a minute. Eventually, that thing's going to go up to $1 a minute. I know it's coming. And you have a combination of factors. You have cheap labor. Lots of these companies are utilizing prison labor. Wouldn't hire these people outside.
Yep.
Then you also have them milking poor families for phones and services and gift bags and all that good stuff. And then when they come out, you have a probation system that does the same thing, right? People paying restitution for crimes. Now, why am I calling things poor man crimes? Now, what do I call poor man crimes? On average, just to give y'all, not to be too negative, but on average, a murderer gets 6 to 10 years. That's it. You murder somebody on average, that's the national average, 6 to 10 years. If you murder your wife in anger, on average, it's 5 years. It's not even, you don't even do 10 years. A woman on the reverse, though, she murders her husband, on average gets about 18 years. When you talk about drugs, you talk about robberies, you talk about crimes, breaking into vehicles, breaking into homes, bank robberies, it's an automatic 15 to 20.
Yeah.
And so I call them poor man crimes because you usually swipe up someone who's in their youth, 15 to 25, and then you put them away for 20 years and they come out in their 40s with what skills?
Yep.
Sounds like Nesto, don't it?
And so my thing is, I really am also like, stop glorifying this because it gets amazingly silly to me, right? And we're also in a kind of area where, do you know where Vine City is? I know you do, but do you know where Vine City is?
Where's that at?
It's on the other side of that Georgia University. That's downtown. It's like you have Midtown and you go across a little bit. They just built up a thing called the Interlock. Let me see if I can pull that up.
Okay.
But Vine City, anybody in chat know what they're talking about? Vine City, put it in the chat because it looks like woo. It's basically over there by that stadium.
Okay.
And so if you, and this is the nice pictures probably they're gonna show you. Here it is. There we go. Everybody see the Vine City? See, there's the line, North Side Drive, Northwest.
Okay, I know that's that.
Yeah, Clark University, other side of it. Yeah. So you got the Rodney Cook Senior Park, Historic Park. So in that little square,
look, I'm a little bit more trusting.
Mercedes-Benz, is to the right, whatever. In that little square, this area is the next to be completely cleared out
to get food.
It has nowhere to go. Like I see some spots here and there where they're cleaning stuff out, but they literally will have to do a massive clean out of this area. If anybody knows what I'm talking about. And another area is the Interlock. If you go look up the Belly Yard.
Okay, so she cuts off there, but that's just a snippet of that longer video I first started playing. And like, again, I didn't want this live to go too long, but I wanted to make sure you guys saw that part because she talks about a lot of stuff that we deal with when we're going through this whole Nesto saga. And it's talking about cleaning up Atlanta. And the next time I go live, I'll make sure I have that clip. But I want to show the clip of Fani's press conference where she's going in. But she's talking about we're going to clean up Atlanta. And one of the motivations to clean up Atlanta is that they want to entice corporations, mainly tech companies, to come and invest in Atlanta. And then when they start talking about the gentrification and the moving out of the undesirables from the city, that happened in my city over 20 years ago. And I didn't realize, like I said, that was something that was, I mean, I knew it was happening in other cities, but I didn't realize that it was taking this long to basically reach Atlanta because I wasn't really tuned into the politics of Atlanta, the socioeconomic makeup of Atlanta, or the other jazz. But watching this saga, this real-time story play out, we are very familiar with Fulton County, Cobb County, Harris, or the Henry County, all these different counties that make up Atlanta. And then they talk about different areas, Midtown, Buckhead, all that stuff. And I even remember when I would visit Atlanta, I really wasn't paying a lot of attention, but I went to places like Lenox Mall. And I remember the first time I went, like I said, I was driving around Atlanta. Today, I wouldn't even do that. I wouldn't do that even if I was strapped. But I went to Decatur. They had a mall out there. It was supposed to be like, quote unquote, the African American mall out in Decatur, Georgia. I remember driving out there. I remember spending time in the underground. Again, like I said, I loved Atlanta. I was totally in love with Atlanta, and I want to hold on to that Atlanta that I knew and loved, and that's why I'm really weary about going back down there. But I think I will because it's just right down I-75 for me. If I drive really, really, really fast, I could probably make it in about 6.5 hours. But if I take my time, it's about an 8 hour drive. Or I'll just hop on a plane because I'm kind of like that now. And ironically, I mentioned that that was the first time I got on a plane and I flew down to Atlanta. I was brave. I look back in my 20s and I did a lot of things exploring a city like Atlanta by myself. And fast forward now, I'm over 50 and I'm thinking like, girl, you was brave. But times were different. Times were different. Uh, oh, okay. So you were watching Tasha K. I might go back and watch that. Oh, Tasha had an emergency? Oh, wow. I wonder what that's all about. But if you can, of course, I know if you get time, you can replay it. But I would urge you guys to go check out Erica Williams. It's Erica with the K, and Diamond David Williams. Very brilliant, smart people. They're my kind of people. Okay, that I would love to hang out with them to pick their brains because they're like me. Like I said, Erica always comes with the facts, the stats, and I think it kind of explains what's going on, especially now with Ernest, with Nesto. The reason why he's facing all the stuff he is not, aside from the fact that he's a criminal, okay? Aside from that, obviously, but he was doing crime when there was not such a press for convictions, and he also spent a significant part of his younger years in prison. And one thing I learned from being in law enforcement, that a lot of these criminals, they go to jail and they learn techniques in jail. But like I've said before, I've said it on the panels, is that a lot of them get the game after that ship has sailed, and that's what Erica's and Nesto's problem is. And when I say Erica, I'm talking about Erica Hughley, not Erica Williams. But their problem is the game has passed them by, but they're trying to employ these old tactics, doing these paper crimes. They've already got stops in place. They already got technology in place to find out these things and to trap these things. And let's not even talk about technology, being able to trace you electronically, not just through paper. But that's why he's facing such harsh penalties, because Atlanta is trying to clean itself up. And you can't have Nestos running around. And Lord knows they got enough scammers. So he's right where he should be, in my opinion. Let me just read these last few comments and then I'll wrap this up because we're coming up on 2 hours. Again, like I said, this doesn't even feel like it to me because maybe the topic or the way I'm presenting it really interests me. But thank you guys who have hung in here all this time. Please make sure you give this video a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe and hit your post notifications so you'll know every time I go live. Man, I feel like I watched enough people do lives to be able to spit that out. But let me go ahead and read these comments. Okay, I said what I said. The clear people want to take back what they gave up in the 60s, moving to the suburb. Exactly. When we moved, I remember moving on the street that I grew up on. At the time my family moved on the street, there were still probably about 4 or 5 white families on the street. My street is it's shaped in a U, and so it's kind of sort of like almost like a cul-de-sac. But shortly after we moved, I would say within at least 5 years, 5 6 years, and I'm talking about we moved into that house like in 1974. All the white people were gone. They left. And then I even, going to the neighborhood elementary school, I do remember my kindergarten class being full of like half and half, a good mix of white and black students. But by the time I hit first grade, the majority was black because a lot of the white kids that start off in kindergarten with me, they went to Catholic schools. Their Catholic schools didn't offer kindergarten, so they had to put them in the public school. So I started to see that segregation, of course, even in my early years. I didn't honestly care. Our block was fun, all the kids and the neighbors and all that jazz. So I started to pay attention to it more once I got, like I said, into junior high school, where I went to a more integrated high school and moving forward. But around the 90s here where I live, the late 90s, they started pushing people out of the city, our downtown area in particular. There were housing complexes that a lot of people who are my age, all of their parents came out of. It was basically a brick city, but it was housing complexes. Well, they tore those suckers down and they put up nice new homes and townhouses, and they did make an allotment for people with low income. But we saw very clearly what they were doing. They ran the young people out of the downtown. They closed down a lot of the department stores and restaurants because they felt like they were a nuisance, and that they were destroying the city, and it wasn't a good look. So now you go to my downtown, is dead. That's why I was having that conversation with a few people, and we were talking about, I believe, I was talking about it with my nephew actually about going to Detroit, and I talked about a little bit with Shan on the panel how going to their downtown and how it was hustling and bustling and thriving. That's something I don't get here. So I know some people feel some type of way about that, or that kind of, at least my nephew did. He didn't like it, but he's so reserved. But our downtown is dead. I mean, unless you're working down there or you want to go eat, there ain't a lot to do in our downtown. But that was the fallout of them getting the people out of our downtown area, and they pushing them out into the neighborhoods, because my city is built up of neighborhoods, and then you have the suburbs that are touching the neighborhoods or even intertwined in the neighborhoods. So I see exactly what Atlanta is doing. Atlanta wants all of the riffraff out of the perimeter area, the downtown area, and they want them gone. And they even want them out of Buckhead. They want Nesto gone out of Buckhead. So yeah, so I said what I said. Yeah, I experienced that, and I remember watching it play out in real time. And Lady T-Bug said you could be there in 4 hours. Yeah, if it was a 4 hour drive, I would probably be there more often. But like I said, it's an 8 hour drive. And back when I was a broke young lady, we used to drive down there all the time. Now I could probably get a flight on, I don't know if Frontier goes down there with their hard ass seats, but I could probably get one for probably under a round trip ticket for probably under $200 if I really, really, really wanted to go. And even if I really, really wanted to go, I would drive. Heck, I drove down to Tampa straight through, me and my sister, back when my great nephew was born. It was 16 hours. We drove straight through. We stopped, of course, to use the bathroom and eat, but I can get on the road. And I even helped my bestie. She was out in California. She's a traveling nurse, and she was coming back to the city. So she flew me out to LA, to Los Angeles, and then we drove back to Ohio. And that took us about 3 days of travel. So I'm a road warrior. So 4 hours would be nothing for me. And Lady T, you said she ended it in private. Oh, she privated it. Do you know what kind of emergency she had? But but you can let me know if you decide to go live tonight. We could talk about it then. I am going to wrap up this live, and again, I said my little spiel about liking and describing, as our boy Dre says. And I like these kind of conversations. I like to go a little deeper, and maybe off to the side, take a little side streets, check out the alleyways here on YouTube. And like I said, pit and pat around, find something that I find interesting and want to talk about. Like I said, this is a lot deeper than, Ernesto thinking that somebody's setting him up or somebody has it out for him. He's committing crime in a city that's trying to clean it up. And I think Fonnie is doing a good job outside of her Willie Earl issues. So I want to thank you, ladies, for spending this time with me. Thank you. I said what I said, for agreeing to be my mod, you too, Latoya. And if anybody else is interested, just hit me up on IG, and I'll go ahead and mod you. I don't want to just voluntarily mod people, um, especially like you, Lady T, but you have your own thing going. And I do know sometimes as a mod, we feel like that we have to show up for our content creators. And I do it for the people I mod because I really enjoy their content. So I hope you ladies do enjoy the content and don't feel obligated to come and spend time with me. If you got something else going on or you're modding somewhere else, please do you, okay? Because the job is not that hard. Modding is not that hard, but it is a responsibility that I take seriously. And, I like to have a good time in the chat. So I like to manage it. I like having a hand in managing it. And I have an idea for the mods moving forward. Okay. As my channel grow, I will be rolling that out, because I think that we are really, and I say we, because I'm so used to being on that other side, being a chatter and not necessarily a content creator, but also being a mod. We be holding it down sometimes. I mean, if you were in somebody's chat that's really busy and really moving fast, or they got trolls in there, you have to be quick with it, approving those comments and making a decision as to whether or not to hide content, or, or let it go forward. So I appreciate you, ladies. So I'm going to go ahead and end it now. And Lady T-Bug, if you come on live, I'm there. I'm going to go and warm up my dinner that I already got. I got me some Chipotle. I decided to eat me some Chipotle, and I'm ready. I'm ready. So I will talk to you guys later. If I come live tomorrow, I'm going to set it up. That's a promise. That's number one. So you'll know in advance. And I'm looking maybe, like I said, around the 2-3 o'clock time frame. I think moving forward, that's what I am going to do as I become more comfortable, which I am. But also, too, I'm not going to set up unreal expectations. And the idea of me getting up and getting on here live at 10 a.m. in the morning is not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I am up all hours of the night. I average 3 a.m. as my bedtime, just uh to kind of give you some ideas. So I will see you guys later, and thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it.